no place like the Q. Family, this is your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. This is your number one stop for queer news done right, only on E3 Radio.
My girls are any transgender person who happens to be or lean toward any feminine idealization or showing, from painted toenails, fingernails, hair. She can be in a suit and have panties on up underneath there and feel when she has them on, she's the woman of her dreams. Those are my girls. The girls who are hooking to survive off the street and trying to make it and get through one day out another. White, black, green, Asian, Indian, I don't care, because the society and the world doesn't care about us. I want them all to know that somebody does. Somebody will hear that something's happened to them and cry and hurt and want them to do better and help her deal with the bullshit that's coming, because bullshit is out there. And those are my babies.
I know you know that voice. I know you must know that voice, okay? You may know her as Major. You may know her as Miss Major. You may know her as Mama Major. Child, but let me tell you something. During times like this, the times that we're living in right now, uplifting her unapologetic advocacy is so very necessary. This past weekend, family, I had the honor, an opportunity to rest, relax, and rejuvenate at her home, the House of Gigi. Truly, what an honor. And the key thing she wants us to take away, that one thing she never wants us to forget, is to give those motherfuckers hell. And Ryan, don't bleep that out. Miss Major wants everybody to hear it just like that. QCrew, what's going on? Thank you for your continued commitment to helping to sustain this podcast with me. You helped to cover the cost of our editor, Ryan, who I wouldn't want to do this podcast without. And so, family, if you're listening and you're not part of the QCrew, but you believe in the work we do, you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, you love and respect how I report on the news and tell our stories, join the QCrew. A link is in the show notes. And family, please don't forget, we've got a queer news tip line, okay? If you have a local news story, a queer organization, if you're an artist, you got a song coming out, send us a queer news tip. I love hearing them and I love sharing them. Info on how to submit is in the show notes. Now for the news. In politics, Denver public schools stand up to the Trump administration, while a Texas A&M literature professor of more than 10 years was wrongfully terminated due to Trump policies. In culture and entertainment, an underground death doula network in Michigan is ensuring that LGBTQI plus people die with dignity. Tramell Tillman makes history at the Emmys, and after 5 years, Saucy Santana's Material Girl goes gold, while the WNBA playoffs have started. Let's get into it, family. Our first story for this week is out of Denver, Colorado, where a public school district refuses to kiss the ring. Denver public schools reject the Trump administration's demands to implement trans bathroom bans. August 28th marked the 10-day deadline for the Denver school district to comply with the Trump administration's request. It's now well past that deadline, and Denver public schools show no sign of giving in. In a statement from the district superintendent, Dr. Marrero, he says this: "I usually don't make videos like these, but it's absolutely necessary to send a very clear message to our entire community, and in particular, our LGBTQ plus community. As you might have seen in the news, the federal government has decided to take a firm stance and have us roll back our support to the LGBTQ plus community. And of course, we're not having it. We will continue to stand in solidarity, and as you engage this weekend and beyond, I just wanted to let you know that we got you and everything is gonna be okay. I love this. I love this message because it's not easy right now to do what Dr. Marrero is doing. The Trump administration has threatened to withhold funding should the school district not comply. But Dr. Marrero, come on now, he is standing 10 toes down on business. And he goes on to say in that same statement, we will fight in the courts if we must, in the public square when necessary, always in partnership with those who believe that every student deserves to show up to school ready to learn, free from fear. When students walk into our schools today, they will find what they should always find: open doors, open hearts, and classrooms focused on their success. We will not waver, we will not back down, because equity is not optional. It's who we are. Come on, Dr. Marrero, come on, Denver Public Schools. In a time where so many schools, and so many universities are kissing the ring, the list is so long. The fact that they're putting up a fight in Denver is refreshing, okay? It gives me a little bit of hope. I need a little bit of hope every day. I don't know about y'all, but this gives me a little bit of hope. Well done, Denver. Well done. Family, I've got more political news for you, this time coming out of Texas. Professor Melissa McCall was fired from Texas A&M University after a video surfaced of a confrontation during her class. Let me tell y'all what happened. Moments into the professor's upper-level children's literature course, she had a confrontation with a student. And you can see this confrontation on social media because the student video recorded it. You can hear the professor speaking about gender and sexuality before being interrupted by this student. The student says, "I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching." The student goes on to quote Trump's executive order. Family, this is really happening. The student goes on to quote Trump's executive order that says, "The U.S. only recognizes two unchangeable sexes and prohibits federal funds from being used to promote gender ideology." Now, later in the video, Professor McCall says, "What we are doing is not illegal," and that the student had the right to leave the classroom. McCall's attorney had this to say in an official statement about the professor's termination. Her notice of termination alleges that she was instructed on numerous occasions to change the course content to align with the catalog description and the course description that was originally submitted and approved, yet failed to do so. However, Professor McCall's course content was entirely consistent with the catalog and course description, and she was never instructed to change her course content in any way, shape, or form. In fact, Dr. McCall taught this course and others like it for many years, successfully and without challenge. Instead, Dr. McCall was fired in violation of her constitutional rights, contractual rights, and the academic freedom that once the hallmark of Texas higher education. She has appealed her termination and is exploring further legal action. Family, this is happening. This is really happening. Students and local LGBTQI+ organizations like the Aggie Allies, the Pride Center of Brazos Valley, the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression aren't happy with the unjust firing and have taken to protesting on Texas A&M's campus. A&M graduate student and protester Joanna Sullivan said this about the firing. "This firing of a professor because they're talking about something that a student might not necessarily agree with, it sets a really bad precedent." She said, "I teach paleontology. There are people on campus or in the world who don't believe dinosaurs really existed. They don't believe evolution is real, and they can believe that. But the fact that they could maybe get me fired for having to teach that to them is terrifying." Family, we are in wild times right now, and people are kissing the ring and bending to the Trump administration. So I'm glad this professor is deciding to stand up for herself And please understand, family, and don't forget, she is in the state of Texas. For our next story, when I saw this, I knew I needed to include it in the podcast because it is so important. Even outside of this current climate, we all should know that we are, as human beings, living longer. And as more queer people age, we have to ask ourselves, how do we die with dignity? Well, an underground network of death doulas in Michigan have made it their mission to assist elderly members of the LGBTQI+ community to prepare for the very thing that awaits truly all of us, death. End-of-life doulas, or death doulas, are people who assist with the death process. They serve as the voice of the dying. The underground network of death doulas in Michigan are not formally trained or legally recognized, but they're prepared to answer the call when someone in the community is in need. Volunteer death doula Maya Rodriguez had this to say about a recent patient she helped. Quote, "The elder kept saying, 'Thank God you are here. I was scared they would not understand.'" Retired social worker Pat Williams illuminates why these death doulas have to work in the shadows. Quote, "We learned early that we couldn't rely on institutions to treat us as equals with dignity, so we built our own through word-of-mouth referrals and encrypted networks. Because so many of us fear professional retaliation if our identities are discovered." I can't believe I'm talking like this in 2025. Retaliation if our identities are discovered? It's no secret, family, that COVID did a number on the U.S. healthcare system, but our queer elders who fought like hell to grow old, who didn't believe they would survive the HIV/AIDS crisis of the 80s and early 90s, they did. And they deserve the same dignity in death that they had in life. A study from the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law says that about 40% of LGBTQ+ adults who are over 50 report experiencing healthcare discrimination. For trans elders, the rate is even higher. The state of Michigan doesn't have established LGBTQI+ hospice and senior living facilities like New York or Chicago or California. So the work these death doulas are doing is so important. And family, is something for you to think about, especially right now. Let's take a quick break, huh? Pay some bills? And when we get back, let's talk about some culture and entertainment news. Are you in Chicago? Will you be in Chicago Saturday, October the 4th? If you answered yes to either of those questions, I need you to be at the Purple Tie Affair concert and silent auction, a benefit to raise money for E3 Radio and the Queer News Podcast. We can't do this alone, and we don't want to, and we want to have fun doing it. So come enjoy good music, drag performances, and a fire silent auction in community. Get your tickets at e3radio.fm. See you there.
Mental health coverage is just as important as physical health coverage. In Illinois, mental health parity laws ensure that your coverage for mental health conditions and substance use disorders is not more restrictive than your coverage for physical health conditions. If your health plan has unlimited doctor visits for a condition like hypertension, then it must offer unlimited visits for a condition like depression. Learn more at getcoveredillinois.gov.
Family, imagine this. You're not just checking boxes, you're being rewarded for real, meaningful progress towards your crazy-ass goals. With Focal Point Coaching's 90-day impact program, it's about the results you create. Hit your goals, get your money back for the program. Your next 90 days could change everything. Sign up now at focalpointforyou.com. That's FocalPoint, the number 4, the letter U.com. Family, welcome back to the show. Now in culture and entertainment, Tramell Tillman made history at the Emmys. He became the first Black man and the first Black gay man to win Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. I promise you, it is wild to me that we are still having firsts in a country we've lived in for hundreds of years. And I must digress, okay? Because this story is one of celebration. Let's listen to his phenomenal acceptance speech dedicated to his mom.
You remember what you want to remember. You make time for what you want to make time for. Do the work, show up. And most importantly, for the love of God, don't embarrass me in public. My first acting coach was tough, y'all. But all great mothers are. Mama, you were there for me when no one else was, and no one else would show up. Your loving kindness stays with me, and this is for you.
Yes. Wasn't that beautiful? When I heard it, I knew I had to share it here on the podcast. Now, he won for his role in Apple TV's Severance. Any Severance fans out there? I know that there's a lot of you because I've heard really good things about this show and now I have to go watch it. Okay? But congratulations, Tramell, on winning and celebrating your mom and being able to share that moment with your mother. Congratulations. In more culture and entertainment news, rapper Saucy Santana has received his first RCAA Gold certification for his 2020 hit, Material Girl. Any Material Girls out there? Well, Santana has shared the news on social media and thanked his team in a heartwarming, only Saucy Santana could write type of post, okay? He says, "Go God, poor little gay boy in the studio rapping everything I didn't have, okay? Manifestation, because I have it all now." He said a lot of other things. Go check the Instagram to see it all. But Saucy Santana is unapologetic about who he is, not only in his life, but in his music. And Material Girl, surpassing 500,000 units sold in the US, I'm sure you can't tell him nothing. No more. And he dropped Material Girl in 2019. It took 6 years, but who cares? He has met this moment, just like when he did the remix featuring Madonna on Material Girl. Couldn't be happy for Saucy Santana, okay? And here's to the next gold hit, period. Now for sports news, you know the WNBA playoffs have started, and you know I'm locked in. So who are you rooting for right now? Let me tell you, round one of the WNBA playoffs are well underway, and the games did not disappoint, okay? Minnesota, Atlanta, New York, and Las Vegas came out on top in game one, but to know the W is to know that those other teams are not done just yet, especially that Atlanta-Phoenix series, okay? There's some dogs out there playing, and I can't wait to watch that matchup. Now, family, if you in it for the sports, that's one thing, but you might be in it for the mascots too, because Ellie has been showing out. If you have not seen her Mary J. Blige routine, do yourself a favor. Find social media, put in Ellie and Mary J. Blige, and you will have a good day. Come on, WNBA. We need y'all to watch, okay? Because we need the W to keep growing. And if you're wondering, I am absolutely rooting for Asia Wilson, okay? She just happens to play for the Las Vegas Aces. And then I gotta be rooting for the Stud Buds. I have to root for the Stud Buds, okay? And they just happen to be on the Minnesota Lynx. Let's see how this all plays itself out. Pun intended. Family, you know it's time for Anna's Got a Word, because Anna's always got a word. And my word to you for this week is really a question. Whose side are you on? Come on now. Whose side are you on? We know our news cycle has been full of Charlie Kirk. I even went on a rant because I was just so over it. And that's not something I do very often, okay? But I feel like in the coming months and coming years, I'm going to find myself ranting more on the internet than I have in the past. Because I do think more people need to hear it outside of those who listen to this podcast. And my thoughts around Charlie Kirk are very simple. No one should be killed like that in front of all those students. This is my opinion. No one. There's no condoning that. And I have no grief or mourning for a person who did not value my humanity, who talked ill of those who I love and advocate for, who didn't even believe in empathy, who didn't believe in gun safety or any type of gun reform. He stood 10 toes down on the Second Amendment, saying out of his own mouth that some deaths are just going to happen. And that's okay because we must protect our Second Amendment, our God-given rights. That's what he said. And that is exactly how he died. He talked ill of Black women. He talked ill of Dr. King. He talked ill of trans folks. He talked ill of mass gun shootings happening in schools. Nothing in his life, no part of his life was that to bring peace or understanding. He spewed evil and violence. And violence begets violence. Period. I do not have a single tear for Charlie Kirk. I am fearful of his following. I'm fearful of the way that this country has made him a martyr. I'm fearful that our flags are flying half-staff for a man who spewed this type of hate, because it will fuel more hate. That's just how this works. I'm fearful of that. And so I ask you, whose side are you on? I want you to ask your friends, whose side are they on? I want you to ask your family, whose side are they on? This is a very simple question. It's very black and white. This is not a gray area. Whose side are you on? Till next week, family. Peace.
Queer news, queer news, queer news.
If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna DeShawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall, and brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.